F1 has a lot of issues as it currently stands, and today I'm going to list 5 things that I think need to change and how to change them. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. And the first topic, which is my 5th kind of big issue with F1, and this will go in order. So first will be the biggest issue for me, but number 5 is the teams and drivers. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is there's not enough variety. There's drivers that definitely deserve to be in F1, but because there's some drivers that don't deserve to be in F1 but have found themselves in a seat. Not talking about anyone particular, but someone like Lance Stroll, he will not leave the sport for a good while, because obviously his dad owns the team, and well, of course Lance is going to be at that team for a long time. He's not good enough for F1, I don't believe, but because his dad brings in the money, he gets to keep his seat. So it's just so frustrating, because someone like Stoffel Vandoorne and Nick De Vries, they deserve to be in F1, but because there's not enough seats for them, what are they supposed to do? They can't do anything. They're just going to be stuck in Formula E for a while. Hopefully, with the new regulations in 2022, we do end up getting ourselves a few more teams. Obviously, Pantera Asia team, I believe it's called, is coming, but of course that's an Asian team. You can't put Stoffel or Nick in there. It's just frustrating. I want it to go back the way it was, say, in 2010, when we had 24 cars on the grid. Yeah, 24, because we had HRT and all those other slower cars. I don't care how slow they are. I want bigger grids so we can see some cars fight with Williams. But yeah, at the end of the day, someone like Lance Stroll, he's going to be around for a while. We have to own up to that. He's not going anywhere anytime soon, and we can't do anything about that. It's just frustrating, unless his dad decides miraculously that his son is not doing a good job, or that his dad leaves the Racing Point team. We'll see. I don't expect him to leave. I don't expect Lance to leave. It's all a bit of a shambles. But on to number 4. Alright, number 4 is the fact that I think the calendar needs to be longer. Now, the calendar is currently, obviously, this year, it's not as big as it's usually, but it's the 22 race calendar, with of course this year the introduction of Vietnam and the reintroduction of the Dutch Grand Prix. We will be getting a 25 race calendar when the new regulations come in, whether it's 25 races straight away, or maybe we add one every year and then we get up to 25. I want a bit of an earlier start, basically. I want us to start in maybe February and race through to November or December. I want it to be about 11 months calendar. But now, what I say the issue with the calendar is, it's that the size of the calendar is not my biggest issue. My biggest issue is the fact that there's tracks that don't deserve to be on the calendar. Like I said with drivers, tracks like, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of Bahrain, I'm not a big fan of Spain, I'm not a big fan of Singapore. Well, Singapore's okay, it doesn't provide great racing, but I think it's okay track. It's good spectacle, of course, under the lights. Russia, get that out of there, and Okay, this is a controversial one, but I do not like the United States Grand Prix. Now, I think that COTA is the best option for a US Grand Prix for now, but I think, why don't we go maybe COTA? I don't have a huge issue with it. It's just not, it's just too artificial, you know. It feels plasticky and fake. And why don't we do what they did back in the day for the F1 calendar in the 80s and 90s even, maybe even the 70s? Why not go for a USA West and a USA East Grand Prix? That could be an interesting thing. Of course, Miami, that looks like we'll be probably getting a Miami Grand Prix in 2022 maybe. Don't know about that. The issue is the money. You see, Russia brings in a lot of money. Azerbaijan brings in a lot of money. Bahrain brings in a lot of money. Don't even get me started on Abu Dhabi. I didn't even remember that one, but there's tracks that don't deserve to be on the calendar, and I think this calls for its own video, its own, what I think the dream 2022 calendar would be. Alright, so the next topic is the money. It's so expensive, and I'm talking in many places here. I'm talking about for the teams, it's very expensive. Obviously that's going to change with the new regulations when they come in eventually, but it's quite annoying how expensive F1 is when you compare it to Formula E, and that may also be its own video, so stay tuned for that. I think it's just too expensive for tickets. Tickets are just, don't get me started. So we pre-bought a ticket for the Australian Grand Prix, probably in January, February, maybe. No, I think it's February. But of course we got a refund, because of course what happened with the Australian Grand Prix. But it was so expensive, and that was just for the cheapest option, which is just walk around the track. And we didn't get a grandstand, we didn't get anything. And I want to compare it to another Australian motorsport, the biggest Australian motorsport, V8 Supercars. It's so good. Every year I go to at least 2 races. I go to Bathurst. It's pretty much been a tradition for me to go there every year now. And the ticket prices, adding up your camping, your paddock pass, which we actually got for free, it all adds up, and it's expensive. But when you compare the expense from supercars to F1, F1 is so expensive just for the simple option, and it's frustrating. But on to number 2. Now, this is gonna be interesting to talk about, and it's the racing. The racing it's decent. I'll give it that. It's a lot better than it was, say, a few years ago. 2019, to be honest, was a good season for racing, but not good for the championship battle. Now, I would say 2019 was probably the best year for this era, the V6 hybrids. It still wasn't great. There was so many dull races, but at the end of the day, the racing is gonna hopefully get better. We'll have to wait and see, but it looks like the 2022 regulations are gonna make a bit of a change. And I know I'm talking about it way too much, the 2022 regulations, but that's a good reason, because I just want to get this year over and done with, next year over and done with, and then get on to 2022. This has just been a disaster of a year for everyone. I want to move on. I want to skip 2021 and move straight to the new regulations, because I cannot be bothered watching boring races where I have to stay up early in the morning. Your sport's I wouldn't say dying, but it's on the decline and the racing isn't good when qualifying is the most entertaining part of the weekend. Speaking of not a good show, we're going to move on to my main topic, and that is politics. The politics are frustrating, but to be fair, they do make up the modern era, and I guess they've got to be around, don't they? But there's just too much of it. Every weekend there's controversy. Even at testing there was controversy with Mercedes DAS system. This is the best thing about kind of staying away from F1 for a few months. The politics are annoying. You've got your Vettel 2019 at Canada. That wasn't even resolved until France in last year. And obviously you've got Spygate. You've got your drama from the 2007 season, the 2008 Renault incident. Just so much politics, Even it goes back to the 90s, and this is what I mean. It's an issue, but it's gonna stay around for a long time, for the whole rest of F1, I would say. Because even in the 70s, there was politics. Half of the grid didn't want to drive because it was too dangerous. The other half of the grid did. And again, 90s, obviously got the Alan Prost and Ayrton Senna. That was a very salty rivalry, and we're going to move on. When the season gets started, there's going to be politics. We know there's going to be politics, and we're going to suck it up and be grateful that F1's here, and hopefully we have a good year. But it's not been a good start of the year. I am slowly running out of some video ideas, but hopefully you enjoyed the video, guys. If you want to see me do any type of video, maybe I'll do a F1 versus Formula E kind of comparison. I think I can definitely manage that. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in a few days time. We'll see how it goes. But hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.